only pretends to drink. While he claims that Caleb wants his head, so he only stole the machine to survive. He even offers Ernest money, but he turns it down because the story is suspicious. Then Ernest tries standing up, but the alcohol makes him dizzy and he can barely move. This was Flem's plan all along, and he uses the chance to hit Ernest with arak, causing him to hit his head on the cliff. As he bleeds and he falls unconscious, Ernest has a flashback of Catherine's car accident, which had been caused by his drinking habits. Later when Ernest wakes up, he's tied to Sim, and Flem starts pouring more alcohol into his mouth, screaming like a maniac afterward. Flem goes to the farm, and Mary jumps on his bike so they can escape together. Getting worried about Ernest, Jerome decides to go looking for him. By the time night falls, he finds Sim at the waterman's camp, where the guys tell him that his dad died because of an accident with the machine. When it's time for the funeral, Mary comes back and the siblings cry together. They also have to visit their mom to give them the bad news. Flem picks them up in his truck and he takes them home. At the farm, a furious Jerome starts hitting Sim with a hammer. So Flem comes to stop him. He explains grief is hard, but he can't let it ruin a source of income, and he offers to become the new head of the family so he can help the siblings. He also shocks Jerome by announcing Mary is pregnant. Flem has big plans in mind for the farm, and Jerome agrees to let him try. In the afternoon, Flem takes supplies to the waterman, and he asks Caleb to put a water pipe on the farm. At first Caleb refuses, but suddenly Flem blames him for Ernest's death, since Caleb's rifle and knife were found with the body. Scared of the possible consequences, Caleb agrees to divert water to the siblings' land. A few days later, the new farm pump is officially installed, and Flem works very hard all day long to plant and grow wheat, which is watered by sprinklers. The family now can also enjoy actual showers. Some weeks later, Jerome is surprised to see a little leaf on the ground, and eventually the land is covered in wonderful plants. To celebrate, Flem and Mary get married, and tattoo each other's initials on their hands. During the party, Flem drinks and keeps thinking about Ernest's death. A couple of days pass and Sam shows up at the farm, with two men from the band. It turns out Ernest's debt is huge, and they want Flem to pay it. Flem scares the horses with his bike just to look tough, and Sam scolds him, explaining that nobody ever wanted to buy the land, and Ernest had it because he simply never moved off. Thanks to the water and the crops, the band will be able to sell it, so Flem must pay if he doesn't want to lose it. That night Flem puts Sim on his truck, and he picks up Robbie with his baby. He pretends they'll be asking around for some prices, just to get an idea, only for Flem to sell the baby against Robbie's will. Freaking out, Robbie asks for his baby, but the buyers open fire. Killing Robbie, they try firing at Flem too, who shoots back as he runs away, leaving the machine behind. Sim is caught in the exchange, and the damage makes it activate a model that guides it back to the original factory. The next day Flem pays the bank with the baby money, but he tells the siblings that he sold Sim to Robbie. Meanwhile, Sim makes it to the city and is found by its builder, Calvin, who finds the owner's information and calls the farm. Jerome picks up the call and starts getting suspicious, so he runs to the local market. He discovers Flem talking to Sus, who is keeping Adele in her arms, pretending it's her baby. Noticing this, Jerome tries talking to them, but Flem quickly takes Sus away. Later at the farm, Jerome asks Flem about Robbie, but Flem says Robbie took Sim and abandoned his family. Determined to discover the truth, Jerome announces he'll visit his mother, but he actually takes Abus to the border. However, the guards don't let him pass, because he's a minor without a guardian. At that moment he's approached by Anna, who offers to cross him over if he pays. Jerome agrees, and Anna puts him in a trap full of chickens. In just a couple of hours, the truck reaches the city, and Jerome sees it for the first time. He reunites with Anna and she takes him to the factory, but she only takes half the money as payment. She explains that the round trip is a scam. He doesn't need a guide to go back because nobody will stop him from leaving. Before she leaves, Jerome asks if she ever met a guy named Ernest, but Anna doesn't recognize the name. Afterward, Jerome meets with Calvin, who shows him all the functions of the machine. It turns out Sim's eyes are cameras that were made to capture the slope for reforestation, and they have recorded everything Sim has seen. Calvin teaches Jerome how to use it, and he gives him some privacy. Jerome gets emotional when he sees his dad again, But this transforms into horror when he learns that Flem killed Ernest. It turns out Flem tied Ernest to the machine, and he sent it in the direction of the waterman's camp, making it look like Sim had lost control, and he dragged Ernest to his death by accident. Jerome has a breakdown in the middle of the office. In the evening it starts raining over the farm. For the first time in over a decade, Jerome soon returns and he plays it cool, asking Flem how he got Sim back. Flem is confused and he checks the barn, shocked to see Sim standing there with no more damage. He says Rabbi must have brought it back out of guilt. A few days later Jerome visits Catherine for ale, and he promises to take care of her like Ernest did. One afternoon Flem and Jerome are hunting animals, to keep them away from the crops. Flem fails all his shots and he passes the rifle to Jerome, blaming the weapon for his failure. Jerome is very tempted to shoot Flem, but instead he kills a deer, proving the problem is Flem's AIM. When they go home Jerome hides the rifle in his room. During lunch Jerome says he got a call from Rabbi, who is looking for Flem. This gets on Flem's nerves, and he has snapped saying Jerome is lying. Mary scolds him for his attitude and Jerome insists he's telling the truth, so Flem bursts out of the room. The next day Flem gets a letter written by Jerome, pretending to be Rabbi. The message asks Flem to meet Rabbi at the cliffs, because he's in trouble before leaving. Flem looks for the rifle, and Jerome says he took it to the shop to be repaired. Since Flem said it wasn't working well, Flem has to play alone not to get caught, and he apologizes for his outburst at the table. After grabbing a knife Flem goes to the cliffs with Sim, and he calls out for Rabbi suddenly. He falls down into a hidden pit and he breaks his legs. Flem screams in pain and he begs Sim for help, but the machine doesn't understand. At that moment Jerome shows up, and he only stares at Flem with a rat in his hand, making Flem realize the boy knows the truth. A desperate Flem begs for mercy, yet Jerome ignores him and he continues to stare, letting him suffer under the burning sun. Eventually Flem starts screaming for help again, and he begs Jerome to think of his sister and the baby. He goes on a long speech about accidents and regret, making Jerome so angry that he finally shoots Flem, killing him when Jerome returns home. He lets Mary think that Flem abandoned her, and he doesn't tell her how Ernest really died. Thanks to the money from the crops, they can afford real food now, and the siblings agree they can finally buy the machine so Catherine can come live with them. Jerome erases all the footage from Sim, ready to start over. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more video like this. Thanks for watching.